Today we're going to talk about why every southern state is so much worse than North Carolina. For this video, I asked some of my friends in other southern states to answer a few questions for me about their state, and somehow I was able to get them to dish about all kinds of things about their states. At the end, they'll tell me all the really bad things about all the other southern states, and then you'll really see why North Carolina is the best. I don't know why they told me this stuff. If you had to leave your state, where would you move?
So if I had to pick another state to live in, my knee-jerk reaction would probably be to say like on a beach, maybe Florida.
If I was forced to move somewhere, then I'd probably have to say Georgia. And the reason being is because it's only about 2 hours away from me.
I would probably go to Florida because I love the sunshine and I love beaches.
This is actually a pretty hard question because there are two states that actually come to mind. One because of the food and one because of the beaches. So I would say Florida because I'm a beach person and the Panhandle would be exactly where I would move into.
If I had to pick one state to live in besides Alabama, it would probably be Tennessee because Tennessee has the mountains and it's just so pretty. I'm a Tennessee fan. I know living down here, you know, it's whatever. It's the way I grew up.
The place I'd like to go, southern state that is, I think would be Florida. And number one reason is golf. I like to golf and there are a ton of golf courses down there, number one. Number two, it is extremely warm and I get cold real easily.
But if I'm being honest, I'm sorry, Florida, but I don't think that I could handle your heat. So I think I'd probably have to choose Asheville, North Carolina. But Asheville just has a really cool vibe to it.
I just want to start by saying that I've lived in Florida. Hasn't anybody heard about the sinkholes and the alligators?
Bob, we're too close. Bob, we're too close. Bob, we're too close. Bob, Bob, Bob. Bob, Bob.
And like, why is every weird thing that I hear on morning radio happening in Florida? Actually, because there's a pair of North Carolina radio hosts who created an entire show about the weird and creepy things we hear on the news about Florida. There's enough to fill up a whole show.
They were pulled over and the police officer noticed a large white bag that said, quote, bag full of drugs.
And this is one of the reasons I'm saving North Carolina versus Florida for a whole new video because there's way too much weirdness to capture in this compilation. And also, Florida's in the South, but it's not a southern state. What is one thing your state doesn't have that you wish it did?
This is easy for me. Number one is a four major sports professional major league team. So it could be baseball, it could be basketball, could be football, even could be hockey. I love to be able to go to a game regularly, and it just doesn't, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon.
Would be some professional sports. So we do not have any professional teams. Football, baseball, we have to go into Atlanta for that. So for the Braves, for the Falcons, we don't have our own professional sports.
North Carolina is home to not one, not two, but three major league sports teams. We've got the Carolina Panthers in the NFL, the Charlotte Hornets in the NBA, and the Carolina Hurricanes here in Raleigh in the NHL. Now, I don't watch any of them, but they're here, and that's all that matters. I don't know why this matters to people, but it does. It probably matters to you. Can you tell me why people watch sports? I just don't get it.
Set up in the Vancouver end. On the near side, Terravina turns away. Now moves down, feeds back to Angela.
I get
it!
What I really wish they would have had is good barbecue. There is no barbecue in Georgia. I mean, yes, there is barbecue in Georgia, but it's not good barbecue. I'm used to Kansas City barbecue or South Carolina barbecue, which is, I mean, it's a different world compared what they call barbecue down here in Georgia. I, as a foodie, really wish they would have better barbecue.
So the real truth of the matter is that Sir Walter Raleigh discovered barbecue from the native Croatans who lived in coastal North Carolina. We are the original home to barbecue, and South Carolinians serve mustard with their barbecue, which is just wrong.
One thing that South Carolina doesn't have that I really wish it did is a very large city to go visit. Not to live in, but just to go visit. I'm here in Charleston. We've got Columbia. We have Greenville. So Columbia and Greenville are going to be the two biggest. but they don't even fall within the top 100 largest cities in America.
You know what cities do fall within the top 100 largest cities in America? Charlotte, North Carolina, number 17, Raleigh, North Carolina, number 42, Greensboro, North Carolina, number 69, Durham, North Carolina, number 83, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina, number 85. We actually have more top 100 cities than any other southern state. Remember, Florida isn't southern. What is the worst thing people say about your state, and is it true?
I would say that I think the biggest complaint is that it floods a lot. We're kind of in a hurricane a spot where hurricanes can come, but they don't come very much. And we're also along the water, so people assume that it floods a lot here. And it can, but it's not as bad as people think. And it's, you know, I think there's some spots that are problematic, but not the end of the world.
Okay, so flooding is a real issue anywhere there are hills or anywhere that's at or below sea level. I'm looking at you, Florida, even though you're not southern.
Why are you looking at me? Stop looking at me. Oh, it's okay. You can look at me.
To be perfectly fair, when it rains in the mountains, you can have floods. When a hurricane comes up the coast, our rivers will flood. And when you build a mall in the Crabtree Creek watershed, you're gonna need a boat to get from the parking lot to do your shopping. But in all seriousness, I don't know of any southern state that doesn't sometimes have flooding issues.
So one thing that people think about South Carolina is that there are two different types of people here. We have racist rednecks and preppy rich people. And that's not 100% all true. Yes, they exist. They kind of exist everywhere, but I think TV has glorified that. There are plenty of normal people just like me all over the state, and people that have come from everywhere. We're not just either rich preppy or racist rednecks.
Let's start with the last bit because that's easier. No one has ever asked me about rich preppies. I actually think that's a northern thing. Like, where are all the elite prep schools? Aren't they all in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut? Elite prep schools really aren't a big thing down here. Now, if by preppy you mean this, now we don't tie our sweaters around our necks, but if you mean pastels, bow ties, and seersucker, yeah, we've got a little bit of that here. Now, let's deal with the elephant in the room, and I'm gonna get serious for just a minute because y'all wanna know the real deal, right? And I'm gonna give it to you, and then we'll lighten things up a bit. Can we just agree that racists are not limited to any one place? But I think this is a really important question because, first of all, a lot of people ask me about it, and second of all, I think the South in general is extremely misunderstood along these lines. I think the media has done a real number on people's perceptions of what the South is like, and it's completely inaccurate. While it's kind of difficult to narrow down how racist one place is compared to another, I found a really interesting attempt at some kind of research that scoured the internet for racial slurs based on location. Based on these findings from 12 million tweets between 2014 and 2016, the apartment search website Adobo created a map outlining the states that produced the most racist tweets. 6 out of the 8 states found to have the most racial slurs online were not in the South, and North Carolina wasn't even on the list. I mean, all this doesn't really mean anything. These tweets could have been one dude named Fred sitting in his mama's basement talking nasty to people, and let's hope that it was and that Fred finds some peace in his life.
So what is the one thing that people say about Tennessee that's not true? And maybe it really just applies more to Nashville than the state as a whole, but people seem to think that Nashville especially is just all country music and cowboys, and that is just simply not true.
That people think about Kentucky is that we do not wear shoes, and I can very much assure you that we do wear shoes every single day, and we are not a bunch of hillbillies.
The big misconceptions most people have about Alabama is the kissing cousins, you know, and that brothers and sisters, and you know, they're the whatever they say, my brother's also my uncle or whatever. That's a misconception. I've never known anyone that was related that has actually got married or did anything like that. And then another misconception about us, our teeth, that we're all missing teeth. I have all mine. Not a thing. Like, we do have our teeth.
The states of Tennessee, Alabama, and Kentucky all told me some form of this idea that people think their states are full of cowboys, hillbillies, and people with poor dental health. Now, Kentucky and Tennessee are a lot deeper into Appalachia than states like the Carolinas and Georgia, and Appalachia really does have some of the poorest communities in America. Wait. I said I was going to lighten things up a bit. We don't have hillbillies in North Carolina. Our hills are full of artists.
I think there are multiple bad things people say about the state, but Georgia is a bug-infested state. We do have a lot of bugs. We got those ginormous palmetto bugs. We got gnats, depending on where you're at. The mosquito is the state bird, pretty much.
Now, of course, North Carolina has bugs as well, but the thing you should know about bugs is that there are more of them the warmer it is. I grew up in South Florida, which, like I said, I did not include in this video because, say it with me, Florida is not southern. But Florida has bugs year-round. I would venture to guess that most of Georgia does as well, except for the mountains. North Carolina has seasonal bugs. When it starts to cool down, the bugs and the snakes go away. And if you liked this video, this one will probably make you laugh, so you should totally watch it.